I want to welcome you to Be Not Afraid. And we're going to practice together. First, I'm going to show you what we're going to practice. But we're going to practice together, reducing our fear, even just kind of hanging up our fear and letting it rest for a little while in this video. I want you to join me, and I want you to be happy and free from fear. All right, here we go. I'm going to give just a very brief introduction to how I came to offer this event. And that is that I found myself being triggered into fear pretty regularly lately. I live in the US, I'll just say that. And it really got to irritate me. I actually got kind of frustrated and angry that people, especially people who wanted me to do something with my fear, were deliberately triggering me into fear. It wasn't just fear itself that bothered me at all. Fear itself is a normal human reaction, and we want to be able to feel fear. We want to be able to feel anger. But these were things like gun training and survivalist retreats. The message that I saw twice in 1 week was don't be scared, be prepared. And so buy this weapon, or learn to hide yourself in the woods better. And I thought, that's not the world I want to live in. And I want to talk about my practice. And then I realized that I do live events sometimes and record them. And it would be a good idea to offer it to other people, because other people don't live in my neck of the woods, but other people are also being triggered into fear by the media, by social media, by our friends, well-meaning friends, by our childhood trauma, by all kinds of things that can get kicked back up, triggered, and then utilized. You could say weaponized, manipulated, used to make us not just buy things, but do things, take actions that, frankly, we may regret and don't contribute to the world that we actually want to be living in. And that's my passionate desire, is to help to create the beloved community, as Dr. King put it, to create a world that I actually do want to live in. And I thought, well, this is how I be prepared. This is how I prepare myself. And so without further ado, I'm going to explain what I do, which is extremely simple. And like I say in the description, it seems too simple to work. It seems to me the mind is the place where the fear comes into awareness. And so the thoughts are where I want to focus us today. And so I want you participating in this with me to just notice that you have a body and settle into your body. You're welcome to close your eyes. I may very well close my eyes, even though I'm doing a video. And feel what your body feels like settled. And then just breathing, not doing anything special with your breath, just observing that you are a breathing being. And there's a natural oscillation, and it will naturally shift slightly as you begin to notice it. And this alone is a refuge. This is a kind of refuge. Taking refuge in the body, in the physical experience of breathing. It's a tremendous refuge. And it does instantly help to calm the body. And when the body feels even a little bit safer, we can make better decisions. The body is happier, we're happier. And now I want you to just turn your attention from your breath to what's flitting across the screen of your mind, or surfacing on the ocean of your mind, if you like to think of bubbles surfacing, popping, and then more bubbles arising from the surface of the ocean, popping, and more bubbles arising. Just take an interest in observing. What you're doing is witnessing. Some schools of meditation tell you to label the thoughts. If that's helpful, you're welcome to do that. Just keeping on observing what's in the mind. If it's helpful to make a note about something that you want to remember that surfaces in this process, that's why I keep post-it notes all over my house. I do that. And it's possible to write that down and then let it go. And returning to watching your thoughts. Okay, now I want you to think of something that scared you recently. And I want you to notice the long trajectory of the response in your body. What are you noticing in your body? It might be very subtle. It may be fear, a feeling of fear, and it may be a pushing away of fear, resistance to fear. It may be something else entirely, as well as the memory of the thing that scared you. And now you can let that go. You can drop it back in the ocean. You can let it flit past on the screen. And notice yourself letting it go. What parts of you are able to let it go? What parts of you want to let it go? And are there parts that don't want to let it go? And allow those parts, just observe, keep witnessing. Definitely no need to fight the parts, however they're feeling. But right now we're in the trough of a wave. We're just allowing things to let go. We're not holding on to anything. Even fear, we're not holding on to it. We're returning to breathing, the blessed breath, and observing perhaps a panoply of thoughts that are popping into your head, following that little exercise. Maybe there are still body symptoms of the fear. Maybe there's a great relief from the fear. Maybe you're thinking of happy things. Maybe you're not thinking. Maybe the screen is blank and the ocean is calm. And I want to remind you, if you're watching this on video, that at any point you can pause the video and be with any stage of this practice. Now, knowing that you can return to the breath, knowing that you can let go of fear anytime, I invite you to think about something that scared you and see if you can feel that fear a little more deeply. Can you allow yourself to be with it, face it? Does it look like a person? Does it have a personality? Does it have a character? It's okay to visualize it if it seems too abstract, and it may be fine that it's abstract. It may be a scene, a scenario that you're watching in your mind play out. It may be a picture, a color, a feeling, a place. Your witness is unaffected. I promise you, your witness is unaffected. There is a place in you that is not afraid. When you are willing to watch the fear from this quiet place, you do yourself no harm. It's okay to find that peaceful, quiet place from which you can observe the fear. And I want to give you a quiet minute to do that without me talking. And now I want to encourage you to let it go. It's okay to let it go. It helps us when we feel fear, whether it's a fear that arose authentically from the moment and we were threatened, or whether it's a fear that's been triggered in us, which is much more common. It's okay to let it go. It's healthy not to feel it all the time. It's healthy not to seek it out like a wound that we're pressing on. It's okay to let it go. It helps to heal our body mind to do that. So you can return to the breath and to witnessing and to any sequelae, any vestiges from that experience that you're feeling. It's amazing how even when we don't dwell on fear, it leaves a trail and we can heal that trail and we can help other people do it. I think I need permission to let fear go. I need permission to be in a safe space. And that's what I want to share with this group. I was glad to see that other people wanted to be in a safe space with people who were watching their fear and letting it go and healing. There are many of us who want to know what to do. And this is one thing we can do. So I'm going to take some questions if there are questions. Thanks. I will say for me, it was a radical idea that I could put it down. I could put fear down. I could let it go. And that I wasn't harming anyone. I wasn't dehumanizing anyone. I wasn't abandoning anyone. When I did that, I spent a lot of time online responding to upset. I spent a lot of time signing petitions, sharing social media posts, reading what's going on in this world and in my country. And I think it's a good thing that I care. I think it's a good thing that I get upset. And I think that's a good thing because I have this practice. Like I said in the description, we can use fear as an alarm clock to say, oh, I'm getting, I'm not just feeling afraid for myself, I'm getting triggered into fear. I need to do this practice. I need to witness and watch and let the fear subside so that I can act, so that I can act without hatred, so that I can act with love, so that I can act precisely, so that I can say words I actually mean to say and not respond in anger, so that I have less self doubt afterward. Those are some of the things that seemed new to me and fresh when things are quite dire or when they seem quite dire.
I wanted to know, so as I think about fear, I am inclined to disaggregate it into uh, here's one distinction that I'm curious about how much it holds up. The fear and societal fear that we can either allow it to fuel fear within us and behaviors. That's a fear that seems distinct from a fear that might be a learned fear, like
Mm,
a fear where I've had an experience or others have had an experience where something negative has happened to them. And is that I was contemplating, is this practice something that works similarly, or would it be because and when I say learned, I mean it's been almost reinforced,
mm-hmm.
and the fear response is something that for any for that subjectivity for that person, that fear is in a sense warranted. They are using they have countermeasures to something bad happening. Um, and yeah, so I think my question is, would we disaggregate or bracket certain types of fear where it's like a fear that we can perceive, we have an awareness, like, wait a second, that's something that's being generated not as much through a validated experience or perceived experience. It is other people's fear that is that I have a choice to either endorse or to put down. Over to you.
Okay. I think fear begets fear. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that there isn't a huge distinction in that the body receives it as the same, pretty much. But I would defer to you and with respect for your work and say, maybe give me an example of what I might be missing. I have some significant trauma. I think you're talking about trauma in the second category.
That's right.
Okay. And I have learned responses, many of which are not helpful any longer to dealing with that trauma. They're a form of resistance or distraction from the pain. There's pain is sort of an aggregate, and in that there's fear. There's a number of other things, but there's definitely the fear. I find that this has done more to heal trauma than a lot of other things, although a lot of other things, say therapy, help me get to this point. So certainly not a negation of anything, including therapy, by any means. I have found that noticing that I have a witness means I'm not the trauma. The whole trauma body, sort of to imprint a phrase that Eckhart Tolle sort of type of phrase. Um, I'm not that. Now I have a practice beyond the witness so that I know that I am the light by which I see the witness. That's a non-dual practice. That's not what I'm teaching today, but it undergirds my practice. And knowing that sort of in a Judeo-Christian sense, I'm God, you could say, I'm one, has been of enormous help to me with my own pretty deep-seated trauma. So now back over to you. What might I be missing?
Well, I'm not necess nothing that I can think of is being missed. What I'm contemplating is that such a practice of being able to notice the fear or the reaction or learned reactions, if there is that deep a practice and one has been successful at noticing that I am the light and I see that fear as being kind of epiphenomenon, uh, if you will.
Mm.
Beth, I don't think, I can't think of anything that'd be missed. It sounds like that profound practice does allow an intervention, a self-intervention,
That's a good word.
so that the fear does not consume, it does not catch, it does the kindling
Mm.
doesn't work.
And what actually happens sometimes is more of it appears. Much more of it is able to be pulled up or surfaced, which is enormously healing. So my trauma is childhood trauma. It's enormously healing to the child to be able to finally bring that to the adult, what feels like the adult. Um, it's simple it's like a two-step process, but like I said in the description, we're triggered into fear. And I think trauma makes us even easier to be triggered in certain ways. Like there are books I have a hard time with, or a scene in a movie will suddenly, I'll just shut down from that. And
Yes.
that's many degrees removed from me. And because I have this, I'll be like, oh, that's my alarm clock. Wait, if I can. I'm not perfect. I don't do it all the time, but I'm not playing around. Like I don't mean to be playing with people's deep trauma or pain or anything. This is a serious practice, and it's available to all of us all the time, like every second. And to me, that's so incredibly powerful as a way of reclaiming. I love my mind. I'm very heady, as you know. It helps to sort of cleanse my mind or give a space for the pain, the fear, the trauma, and still leave lots of space for other things. And so that both things can happen. I can have wonderful thoughts and I can tend to my fear.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah. Well said.
thanks. Mm. Mm.
When it came to like letting go of the fear, then this part was saying like, you've got to give me something else. Like, if you want me to let go of the fear, you've got to give me something like
To replace it.
solid. Like, I can't just let go. Like, it was also like initially what came up was like, I'm sending you fear to make you do things so you won't get all passive and like spaced out.
Mm.
That was like that. So it's not so much, I think, like an outside fear. It's more like the inside, you know. It's like sending me fear to get me to do something like that it wants me to do because it's scared that I'll be passive if I'm not scared into it, I won't take the action that needs to be taken.
Mm.
When I said, well, um, like I tried to just kind of relate to this part, you know, and I was feeling like compassionate towards it. And then it said, well, if you want me to let go of the fear, you've got to give me something solid. Like I can't just let go of the fear.
Mm-hmm. What would something solid have?
I wasn't in that wise space enough.
Okay,
Like I wasn't like, I think, removed enough from this fearful part to like,
sure.
very often I can access my wisdom and all that, but I couldn't
Okay,
access like any wisdom that I could say to it
okay. So
from
then,
my own sources, like, if that makes sense.
yeah. So I think solid might be what I would call a red herring. That it sounds good, but I'm not sure it's really helpful. I think it's like you're saying, it's not the wisest part of you. It needs something. So then I want to ask about the passive. That word passive is really interesting. And there's like a fear of being passive. There's the fear itself, and then if you let it go, there's the fear that you'll be passive. Tell me about, well, what's wrong with being passive? What does passive include?
Feels like a survival thing. Like if I'm too passive, I won't be able to do what I need to do to like survive, to
Wow.
um
So passive also means like quiet and not active, just being.
I um I don't think there's much that as I don't think it kind of objects to me being, but it objects to me kind of being like spaced out and not taking care of
Ah,
life, not taking care of like my material well-being kind of thing.
okay. And
Mm.
and you yourself, though, if you think about it, there is a difference between being spaced out and just being.
Yeah,
Okay. And you know how they each feel. You have a feeling of them.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
also no, it's also like I think it can't distinguish. It finds it hard to just let me be and rest.
Yeah.
Can't distinguish between kind of it just kind of tends to label everything as passive and
Right.
not kind of see like that being and the recharging and the filling the spirit as it were, you know. Uh,
Exactly. This is
yeah,
so important because this is, I think, what I mean by being triggered into fear, that fear itself wants to perpetuate itself sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so we should clobber it over the head. No, I don't mean that. Just joking. We should, that's
Yeah,
totally not what I mean. We can keep noticing, oh, I'm really having a hard time letting go of this fear. It's telling me
yeah.
whatever story it's telling me. And at the same time, you can notice that you're noticing it. There's the witness noticing it. And the witness does have that wisdom. And it is okay to just be. It's a huge difference from being ungrounded and spacey. I think when we're spacey is a reactive response to the fear. It's like, oh, I don't want to look at that. It's sometimes what people call a spiritual bypass, even. I'm going to be all high and lofty and frankly ungrounded. And it can be dangerous to be like that. It's not helpful. Like I've done a lot of self-defense training. It's not a good idea to just be out of your body unless you're doing a shamanic journey and you're safe and someone maybe is watching over you and like there's a whole setup. But just to like walk around spacey, not good for anybody. But walk around present, that's a different story. And I think as I'm talking, you can feel it. I can feel you feeling it. And I know you have it. Even as only as long as I've known you, I know that you have that distinction and you've talked about it just now. So I would experiment with that. The witness to me is the voice of being, is saying, actually, it is safe for us to let this go. Actually, just try it for a little bit, because then otherwise, when does the nervous system ever get to really deepen into being? How can we serve our clients? How can we tend to our children? How can we tend to ourselves, our partners? Um, if we're constantly just a hair's breadth from being really triggered, um, it seems pretty important. I appreciate you sharing that
Like,
inner dialogue. Mhm.
I have an additional
Yeah.
inquiry, which is, I think, now moving away from the trauma type of realm of question, which is that if I often find myself being in spaces where people are telling me that there's something to be afraid of, and
Mm-hmm.
I find myself almost trying to negotiate just how much to refuse that. and but stay in connection. People, so there's two things here.
Mm.
One is how to stay in relationship with people who have this deep desire to keep sharing things that will keep people safe, right?
Okay.
Be what was it? Be don't be afraid, be prepared.
Be prepared. Don't be scared. Be
Don't
prepared.
die,
Mhm.
be prepared. As
Right.
long as you do what I'm suggesting.
Mhm.
And the second one is in that group, there will be those with whom I am very interested in being in relationship with.
Mhm.
I do not want to be sort of the person who has the highest moral ground.
Right. No. No, no, no. That's not helpful.
You should take my path. None of this stuff should make any difference at all. So I think that's a dilemma
Ah.
that we often have in relationships.
Yeah, I think that's a spiritual bypass. None of this stuff matters. I think a lot, this great spiritual teachers didn't say it doesn't matter. They did say it's not sort of ultimate reality, but they didn't say it doesn't matter.
Right.
And that is a definite way to disconnect from someone you love, is to say, oh, that's not important. Try this and make it go away. We're not trying to make anything go away. I definitely want to stay in connection with people I disagree with strongly. Um, so that's an interesting question. What I hear you asking, you might not be asking, is what do I say?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. You know, you started by saying this is so common that there's a lot of signs and movements which aren't necessarily trying to be in relationship with. Well, they are, but they're a little bit more disembodied. It's a sign, it's a movement, but
Right.
I'm not really talking to those people. But then there are moments where the people with I might be with are talking about all the things that we have to take precautions about. Um, or else. And I mean, I think one of the almost most banal examples of this is that if you have a fire alarm in your home, um,
Mm.
I certainly do, um, then we're taking precautions.
Absolutely.
We're taking precautions, right?
Yeah.
And over time, since our home was like it was wired by somebody else with multiple redundancies of fire alarms,
Mm.
right? Multiple redundancies. Um, when one goes bad, I've said, you know what? We have plenty of redundancy. But Beth, actually now 7 have gone bad, and we probably have 30 in the home.
Oh my word.
Right? But I guess what I'm saying here is um, there is a kind of a line after which even I might be taking it a little too casual. Like, I don't think I need to replace that one. I don't think I need to replace that one. There's a
Mm.
certain point after which I do need to allow fear to drive my behavior. Does that
I'm
make
not
sense?
hearing you let fear drive that behavior when you think I do need to replace that one. I'm not hearing you panic and run to the store and get the
Okay, so
battery.
that's a distinction. I'm not panicking,
Yeah, you're not
right?
panicking. You're
How,
thinking, is this smart? I better actually replace that one. That's the kind of mind that I want us to have. That
right,
says, this is
responsive rather than reactive.
reasonable, right? Responsive,
Sure.
right,
I'm
right.
with you on that.
Okay, yeah. Right. I wanted to go back and, without preaching, I think we can, and I think of this like as what if there's a LinkedIn post by someone whom I love, and they're saying something so, like, I should really be afraid about this thing. And it is often something I really care very, very much about.
Mhm.
But the approach is just, it's fear, it's linking love and fear. And what I want to do is de-link love and fear. I say, okay, I can feel my pulse rate is increasing. I'm really scared. And this is not affecting me directly. Let's pretend. But I really love these people. I'm going to use my practice. And I'm wondering if you actually move into inquiry. I'm not talking about the stuff where you can just debunk something like you can with an MD. It's like, okay, well, that's not fact. But something that you can't just debunk, something that feels real and true. I think we might be able to move the conversation ahead if we take it in. Like, I mean, Buddha said to like contemplate the graveyard, I deliberately read things that will cause me pain quite a bit and quite often. If I didn't have this practice, I'd be ill. The reason I do that is to make my heart bigger and to see if there's something I can actually, some small action I can take, sharing the post, signing a petition, giving money, small, ordinary things. God willing, I can do those things. But I have to take it in and basically do the practice with it, receive it, allow it, think, okay, and now what would I like to do? Like replacing the smoke alarm. What would I like to do? So I wonder if the people you care about, if you can do that, take in the fear, like Tonglen, the practice of Tonglen, breathing in the fear and breathing out something else. We can do that as well. And then see what arises for you to say. It could sometimes just be a question. So some of the work I've done has just been part of the bridging movement, bridging polarization in the United States. And I was really taught the power of a question, not a snarky question, a real question. Just like, how is that true? Here's how how do we feel when we think that thought? Is that really is that the best way we can feel? That's not even a very good question. Here's how I feel when I think that thought. But when I think about it this way, I feel better and I think I can take an action. Sometimes I will say, you're saying something about a group that's only partially true of that group. I know X and Y person in that group, they're not like that, or there's a huge movement of people who are already aware of that problem and they are working on it, and we can join them. But if I'm either poo-pooing it or caught in the fear, I can't do either one of those things. I do know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a related thing that I saw somebody was like selling this art course. So I had a look and it had like a whole clock ticking thing. And I was like, buy the course. And it had all this like to the second, and it's like, you have 23 hours, whatever, to get like a 30% discount. And I felt so manipulated. Like, this is, if you don't do it now, like that, it's like kind of building the fear. And I thought, she probably doesn't mean to do this, but it's like, I don't know.
I think she does mean to do it. I spent a huge amount of money. I spent $10,000 learning how to do that.
Right, yeah.
And doing more than that, but learning that was an effective way to sell things. And I started trying to do it and it made me ill and my body started to hurt. And so I had to stop. And I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
But I don't like that at all. It's not the only effective way of selling things. The other way of selling things is to really build a bridge with a person and connect with them deeply and honor their timing. And yes, some people just won't buy. They won't buy it or they'll put it off. And I think that means we have to maybe get more people in the door to look at our ad or something. There's a lot of, obviously we don't want to do marketing on this call, but there are other ways of handling that so that we're not succumbing to that type of marketing in our own work. And sometimes so I'm a fundraiser. Part of the work I do is fundraising. And fundraisers are notorious for that kind of stuff, that or what's called hunger porn, like showing other people's skinny children who are starving to raise money. It's a similar kind of an impulse. I think it really wrings people out. I think it wrings us dry. It removes, over time, it takes away the desire to help. It takes away the desire to respond. It's like, why create that around an art course? You either want the art course or you don't, or maybe she could offer to have you be on an emailing list and email you occasionally about this art course to remind you, is it time now? But I won't do that anymore. As a fundraiser, I want to sell. I'm happy to sell, but I sell positive stories. I sell empowerment. I sell how far we've come. I certainly sell stories of resistance. I certainly sell stories of resistance to oppression, certainly. But they're what I hope are wise stories. And I think we can come up with ways to market our work that feel wise and kind and persistent and sticky. People do want, they want you to remember them.
Mhm.
But I don't want to be remembered as like an atavistic knee-jerk reaction to, it's like, yeah, no, don't think of me that way. Think of me as your friend over here that's got this fabulous art course. Yeah, there's been a lot of inflated marketing around that. I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's very much related. It is using fear. It's using scarcity, which is a
I
kind
just
of
turned
fear.
around. I thought I'm not even reading anything more about it. Like I refuse to be
Click.
kind of stressed into thinking about even considering back. Like I don't like to make decisions under shotgun kind
Right.
of thing, you know? It's
That's how we make really bad decisions. Sometimes if I really like the person's product, whatever they're selling or service, I might write to them and say, just need you to know, I really like what you're offering and I really don't like the way you're offering it. So I'm not going to buy it. And you might want to think about changing it. I think we can witness to stuff like that. You don't need to do that. It's just a thought. Yeah, I hear you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's usually not a very good sign to me. It's like, if it was really a fabulous offer, why would you need to do that? Mm-hmm. I think about people who do almost no advert, like Dr. Bronner, the soap, like, and everybody does need soap and they have lots of competitors, but man, I don't know. There's not like a lot of, if you don't use this, you'll stink, and feeling scarcity about that. Anyway. Mm.
I had sort of linked to that.
Oh,
I,
great.
I,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to, as you close, if you had any reflections you would share about simply the English phrase, be not afraid, or the mudra of
Mm.
like like
It's not,
what,
it's like this, not like that. Mhm.
yeah, what would you say about that kind of compact way, whether it be an
Mm.
image or a simple phrase? Um, it,
That's great. What is
I find it quite exciting and so attractive.
the mudra?
Both. I think of
Oh,
fusing them, but I mean, of course, you could not fuse them.
right. I experimented as in the run up to this event with a lot of different ways of saying it. Don't be scared, be not scared. I started to drop the be prepared because it was clear to me this was how I wanted to prepare. You probably know, what does abhaya mean? Abhaya mudra is the mudra. And I've
Abhaya.
seen it this way and just with one hand. What does it mean?
Well, the mudra, I don't know the deep things. I wish there were
Mm-hmm.
a Joseph Campbell, that could just appear and tell a whole set of stories around it. But bhai does like loosely translate into fear.
Okay.
Um, and abhai is the opposite of it. Simple.
Opposite. That's
It's
the
like
A.
hinsa, ahimsa, abhai. Yeah.
Abhaya. Okay. I figured it was probably the A that means not.
Hmm.
Like apolitical. We have that in English, comes from the Sanskrit. Sure. Okay, right. So it could also be non-fearing, like that's, non-fear. And I think it's interesting that there's many words we could use for the state of not fearing, like peace, being, like we've talked about, calm. But instead,
Equanimity.
equanimity, yeah, another one. But instead, what has come down through time is be not afraid, is the negative of fear. And I think that really speaks to the human condition. Like, I think we are divine, and I think we are in our very most natural divine state at peace. We are at peace. I want to say that we're born at peace, but that isn't true. A lot of us are not born in peace. A lot of us are born in fear. Our mother's afraid, we're afraid, the hospital's terrifying, etc. Right? So we kind of are born with fear, many of us. Fear is a pretty basic human state. And so that would be my reflection, is that shows compassion and respect for that. It's not peace, peace, man. It's non-fearing, non-fear. It also kind of looks like stop. It's not like this, you
Yes.
know, but, and it's also hands up. It's also a way of saying I'm vulnerable.
Mm. Mm.
It's making oneself vulnerable when you see it in the statues with one or two hands. If my hand is up here, I can't be hurting you. I'm
Mhm.
not even protecting myself, right? It's not like this. So it's a willingness. I am letting go of fear. In this moment, I'm letting go of fear. And I share that with you. I say to you, be not afraid.
I wonder if it's like, it's almost like when you've got so much fear, like to say, oh, be courageous feels like too much. Like it's kind of enough to say, don't be afraid, like, and not kind of, kind of do that like toxic positivity or whatever.
Right. Toxic
Oh,
courageousness. To just pretend over it. No, that's absolutely not what we're doing.
like, it's
That's
having
what,
respect for that fear that, it's kind of, okay, like, don't be afraid. I'm not going to ask you to suddenly, like, find courage in yourself that's not really there, at the
right.
not that it doesn't exist in you, but it's not accessible.
Right. And if we drop away, if we just think, even see that, and we think, okay, I am feeling fear. It can help us be in touch. Oh, I am feeling fear. Oh, I can also choose not to be afraid. I can feel fear and not be afraid. That's a funny idea, but I think it's possible. And I think the one who does this acknowledges that there's fear and there's the possibility of not being afraid. I think that's right. Well, you two have been amazing partners. I want to be able to be heard on the video. Amazing partners on this journey. I really am grateful. Thank you so much, both of you.